This is the story of how Pop Smoke's killers exploited California's juvenile justice laws to escape life sentences, and why one of them walking free has ignited a national conversation about justice, accountability, and the value of a young artist's life. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to break down exactly what happened on February 19th, 2020, how a social media post led to a senseless murder, and why the outcome of this case has left Pop Smoke's family and millions of fans feeling like justice was never truly served. Before we dive into the details of the case, let's talk about who Pop Smoke was and why his death represented such a massive loss to hip-hop culture. Bashar Baraka Jackson was born on July 20th, 1999 in Canarsie, Brooklyn, and in less than 2 years of mainstream recognition, he would completely transform the sound of New York drill music as Pop Smoke. His rise happened fast, starting with his first single, MPR, a remix of Panic Part 3 in late 2018, but 2019 changed everything. April 23rd, 2019 brought Welcome to the Party, and the track exploded with a whole new energy for New York hip-hop that went beyond just another rap song. His debut mixtape, Meet the Woo, dropped on July 26th, 2019, establishing him as the face of Brooklyn drill. And by April of that same year, Victor Victor Worldwide and Republic Records had already signed him. December 2019 saw him featured on Travis Scott's Gotti from the Jack Boys album, peaking at number 69 on the Billboard Hot 100, which marked his first Hot 100 appearance while he was still alive. What made Pop Smoke special came from his collaboration with UK drill producers, particularly 88MEL, as he took the dark, aggressive sound coming out of London and Brooklyn and created something entirely his own. That deep, commanding voice paired with undeniable energy set him apart from everyone else in the game. 12 days before his death, February 7th, 2020, brought Meet the Woo 2, which debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200 as his first top 10 project. 20 years old and on the verge of superstardom, he would never get to see just how big he would become. February 19th, 2020 found Pop Smoke in Los Angeles on a 4-day trip, staying in a rented Airbnb on Hercules Drive in the Hollywood Hills, a property owned by Edwin Arroyev, who's married to Teddy Mellencamp from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That night, Pop Smoke made a critical mistake that would cost him his life when he posted photos on Instagram showing a gift bag from designer Mike Amiri, with the address of the house clearly visible on the bag. Other posts with his friend Mike D displayed cash and jewelry, and once again, the house address was visible in the background. These weren't casual posts, but a roadmap for anyone looking to target him, and someone was watching. Court documents and evidence presented during the investigation showed that Corey Walker, 19 years old at the time of the murder, researched the house on Zillow and Google, knowing exactly where Pop Smoke was staying and what he had. Around 2:05 in the morning on February 19th, the group first cased the property, then came back at 4 in the morning. Climbing to an outdoor balcony, the intruders burst into an upstairs bedroom while Pop Smoke was in the shower, and according to the evidence, he was pistol whipped and then shot 3 times in the back with a Beretta 9mm semi-automatic pistol. A diamond-studded Rolex watch, a gold chain, other jewelry, cash, and a purse were stolen, and that Rolex got sold for $2,000, a fraction of what it was worth. 5:15 in the morning, less than an hour after the first 911 call, Corey Walker searched online for Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust, already trying to figure out what they had stolen. Police arrived 6 minutes after the emergency call, rushing Pop Smoke to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where doctors performed a thoracotomy on the left side of his chest, but it wasn't enough. February 21st, 2020 brought confirmation from the LA County Medical Examiner coroner, gunshot wound to the chest. Pop Smoke was 20 years old. 4 teenagers and 1 19-year-old saw an opportunity on Instagram and decided to take it, which means this wasn't a professional hit or a calculated assassination. July 2020 brought 5 arrests when the LAPD found them the old-fashioned way by knocking on doors, reviewing video surveillance, and following leads. And when the identities and ages of the suspects were revealed, it shocked everyone. Corey Walker, 19 at the time of the murder, was the only adult, and prosecutors described him as the ringleader and the driver who provided the 9mm firearm to one of the juveniles. During the invasion, he drove with the headlights off and kept open communication with the 17-year-old inside the house, while the others went in and Walker stayed in the vehicle as the getaway driver. Corey's defense claimed that Walker instructed the juveniles to use a flower vase instead of shooting if they needed to defend themselves, arguing that he never intended for Pop Smoke to be killed, and allegedly, when Walker learned that one of them had actually shot Pop Smoke, he assaulted the shooter. Intention or not, Walker was the adult who provided the gun, planned the robbery, and drove them there. The juveniles tell a different story, starting with the shooter who actually pulled the trigger at only 15 years old, pistol-whipping Pop Smoke and shooting him 3 times in the back. May 2023 brought his admission in juvenile court to killing Pop Smoke, with an original sentence of 50 years to life in prison. But here's the thing about California law. The maximum age for juvenile detention is 25 years old. June 2024, around his 21st birthday, the shooter was released from a secure youth treatment facility. The person who killed Pop Smoke served less than 4 years in bars. A second juvenile defendant, at 16 years old, settled his case and was sent to a post-conviction juvenile housing facility with an expected release at age 25. A third juvenile, at 17, pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and home invasion robbery in April 2023, sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in a juvenile facility and expected to be released at age 25, meaning he's likely already out or will be very soon. Keandre D. Rogers was also involved, initially listed as 18, but later determined to be a minor at the time of the murder, processed through juvenile court as well. Years of Corey Walker's case dragging through the courts began with initial charges of murder, 2 counts of robbery, and 1 count of burglary with special circumstances, and at first he was even eligible for the death penalty. October 2021 brought a defense motion to dismiss the murder charge, which failed. April 2023 saw some of the juveniles pleading guilty and getting sentenced, while Walker's case continued, and August 2024 brought trial delays after plea negotiations fell through. January 14, 2025 scheduled his trial to begin, but just days before, on February 4, 2025, while jury selection was already underway, Corey Walker pled guilty and accepted a deal: voluntary manslaughter and home invasion robbery with gun and gang enhancements. February 21, 2025, exactly 5 years after Pop Smoke's cause of death was confirmed, Walker was sentenced to 29 years in state prison. Walker told the court, "Even though the Jackson family isn't here in court today, I would like to sincerely apologize for my unforgivable actions, although there's no apology that amounts to the taking of someone's life." Kellen Davis, his attorney, released a statement defending the plea deal, saying, "All of the evidence supports this position that Walker never meant for Jackson to be killed. As confident as we were of an acquittal on the murder charge, under California law, sentencing enhancements could have led to life in prison for robbery or burglary. This case highlights a system that can impose extreme penalties on young men for crimes they did not directly commit." That statement reveals the core tension in this case. Walker didn't pull the trigger, but he orchestrated everything that led to it. What happened when the shooter got out tells you everything you need to know about whether the system worked. June 2024 brought the release of the 15-year-old who killed Pop Smoke, going by the names King Vermont Rascal and Blockstar on Instagram with the handle @VBlockstar3RR. Almost immediately after his release, he posted a video of himself cutting off his ankle monitor with scissors, captioned, "Can't let no PO determine my safety." July 4, 2024 put him on the No Jumper podcast, and what he said on that interview sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community and beyond, with zero remorse. Word for word, he said, "I'm not sorry about nothing. It shouldn't have happened, but I ain't sorry. If I could go back, I'd go back, but I ain't sorry. People die every day. Pop Smoke was rapping about it. I send my condolences to the family. I wish it never happened, but I don't regret nothing." Describing the murder as just kids being kids, kids from the hood, he claimed the shooting wasn't intentional, saying it was just a robbery, that nobody sent them, and that nobody intended for anyone to get hurt. When pressed about his lack of remorse, he explained, "Growing up, my people, my family, told me, you ain't sorry for nothing. Whatever you did it for a reason and stand on it." Someone who took a life at 15 served less than 4 years and walked out acting like he'd learned nothing. 5 years years of living with this nightmare fell on Audrey Jackson, Pop Smoke's mother, and her words throughout this process have been heartbreaking. February 2025, after Cory Walker's sentencing, she said, "It's over for everybody, except for me. This never ends for me, and that's unfair. I'm grateful that the culprits were caught. I appreciate they got justice to the fullest extent of the law, but my life doesn't change. I still don't have my son. I will continue to work on his legacy, but that's also a constant reminder that he's not here." Blockstar's No Jumper interview in July 2024 prompted questions about how she felt, and her response showed incredible restraint. "I gotta let that go, because that'll eat me up. I gotta let that go. The bottom line is, your life is over. His life is finished. He's living, but if that's his approach to what he's done, life is done for him." Criticism came from her towards the No Jumper podcast and host Adam22 for giving a platform to her son's killer, and she's right about that. What kind of society allows someone who murdered a 20-year-old at point blank to go on a podcast and brag about it less than a month after being released? Pop Smoke's music was reaching heights he never got to witness, while his killers were being arrested, tried, and eventually released. July 3, 2020 brought his posthumous album, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200, with all 19 songs charting on the Billboard Hot 100. For the Night, featuring Lil Baby and DayBaby,